thank you everyone
Sure.
for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sanjeev, for initiating this wonderful program, SaaStart, Atal Incubation program, to bring more of the startup community, to bring more of the information about SaaS as well. Thank you, Taha, for joining as a speaker and to guide us as well. Gautam is also here, though I think his camera is off or something. But thank you, Gautam, for joining us for this program. So just to give a brief about program, we have all these three different people who will be talking more about fundamental of SaaS, how startup ecosystem is working around it, and how we can bring more of the innovation around this particular domain, which is again a huge industry in post-COVID scenario as well. So Taha heads Bari Lab as well as he heads Innovation Hub at Headstart. Gautam heads as a director to Headstart plus VC and PE at Microsoft for startup. Sanjeev heads AIC Prestige as CEO for it. So we would love to hear more about this thing, and handing over session to Sanjeev to give a brief about AIC Prestige, about this program as an outline to all the candidates who have registered for it. And as well, this is again an introductory call, so maybe few more who have not registered as of now can register for this. And again, we will be running complete program on Lean Stack. So let's go ahead and let's launch this officially. Handing over to you, Sanjeev.
Great. Thank you, Mukesh, for a warm introduction and to having set the context. And thanks, Gautam, Taha, for being there, supporting all the initiative from the back. But I would like to bring you to the front and say that big thanks to you for all the kind of cooperation and help that you've been extending so warmly. Quick thing about AIC Prestige Inspire Foundation. AIC Prestige is a modern incubation center based at Indore. We incubate companies in the range of Indore around in central India, and try and make sure that from the national that they join in, we take them across to a much more mature level when they leave the incubation center, and make sure that the chances of them becoming successful are fairly pretty high. But having said that, let's try and understand, success doesn't come by chance. I think it's more based on leveraging the experience and understanding, and also leveraging the knowledge of some of the people behind as well. So not essential that each startup would have their own kind of experience that they can leverage, but here we come into picture that we want to leverage our experience in their benefit to try and make sure that their chances of success move many notches above from the point they come in to the point they leave. And therefore, all the knowledge, all the experience of us, plus you see three of the stalwarts there, that is Mukesh, and Taha, Gautam. It's formidable experience and understanding. They have been trying to make sure that the kind of experience they have, the kind of knowledge they have, the kind of understanding they have is all in the benefit of the startups. So with that, we have about 40 plus startups in various categories, various areas. Some of them deep tech, some of them in SaaS, some of them in drone tech as well. And the other ones are in the area of smart city technology and also industry 4.0. Those are the kind of areas. And I'm happy to let you know that the fifth area that we've identified for ourselves is we want to establish further a center of excellence for AR and VR as well. So with that, we have the kind of sharp focus into these 5 verticals, which will form a critical success factor element for the startups to nurture their organizations around here, try out different technologies to get the leverage of experience and understanding, and also make sure that they have understood the business part of it also fairly pretty well in addition to the technology or development of some kind of MVP. Now, SaaStart is a kind of very special initiative, very close to my heart. I've been trying to leverage this in the benefit of the SaaS-based organization. So possibly in a kind of while, I'll patch in Taha and Gautam to let the viewers know what exactly is a SaaS organization and whether the kind of startup they are conceptualizing or they are into also classifies and qualifies that as a SaaS organization. And if it does, then this is kind of best chance for them to try and make sure that they understand SaaS from a very close perspective in the kind of pre-incubation session that we are coming out with shortly. and leverage that piece of understanding and knowledge to make sure that their chances of success also becomes fairly bright. With that short introduction, Taha, can I invite you to the conversation and set the context right for a better understanding of SaaS?
Uh, but thank you, Sanjeev, for the warm welcome over here. I'm excited about launching SaaStart with AIC Prestige and Microsoft. And for us, this journey at Headstart, we have been very focused around enabling startups across India, helping them in their entire journey. And we believe this, especially the very early stage, the entire pre-incubation, is when the fundamentals or the foundation for any venture is being built, right? And being able to support startups at this very early stage, being able to provide them the exposure and the learning, both from seasonal founders, field entrepreneurs who have actually built ventures, they have gone through their entire experience of building ventures, corporate experts, industry experts, so that the founders have a very basic understanding. They have a very clear idea in terms of what are they building, why are they building, how will they go about building it, right? And once they have that foundational knowledge, that really empowers them in their journey of building and creating successful ventures. And I'm really happy to be able to work very closely with AIC and Microsoft, where this platform is where we have got this great response from the ecosystem. We have got amazing participation from Indore MP, and then we actually got great participation from startups across the country coming in. Also, the another focus for us, SaaS, right? SaaS has been a very big area of growth potential. It's a very new way of looking at IT and tech solutions being creating big impact and big entire diversification of knowledge happening in the system. And I think for us to be able to help bring that knowledge at the foundation level to all the participants over here or to all the community can really help us empower building the next big venture, right? And SaaS as a model has gone across industries, has gone across different spaces, and it's been one of the most promising models that have been coming out right now. And for us, this entire space is for startups to learn both aspects of it. One, the fundamentals, and then the second part is how do you leverage the learnings and the opportunities in the SaaS space in their business model. And so with that, I would love to now call upon Gautam as well. So, Sanjeev, would love for you to introduce Gautam also, but on this because he again comes from a deep background both in the SaaS space and in the community.
Sure. Thanks, Taha. Gautam, can I invite your opening notes, please?
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to be with AIC Prestige. And likewise, it's wonderful being there at the launch of SaaStart. I've definitely seen the Prestige team over the last few months break their heads and put this plan together, because I know how big of an impact this could have on the startup ecosystem. We've always heard in the last couple of decades that software is eating the world, and I think this is the right time for us to say SaaS eats software, SaaS eats the world, right? Because SaaS is software as a service, but it's version 2.0 of software, right? I'm sure I don't know how many of you were old enough to experience buying software through floppy disks and CDs and DVDs to install them.
I don't think people would have an idea. Most of the people would have an idea of what is a floppy disk in which way.
So I'm sure many of you may have not bought software on floppy disks and CDs and DVDs, including your antivirus, etc. Right now, everything is over the air or pre-installed. You don't really feel the pinch, right? And I think that's where the entire world of software has moved from, the installation based on need to on the cloud. So software on the cloud or being installed on the cloud has completely fired the software as a service where it could be, usage basis, need basis. And that's where we all need to understand how big this could potentially be, right? You could build for any problem from anywhere, and you could solve for it globally. So, which is where it comes down to, is it that simple, really, right? In terms of, can I really sit anywhere and build for the world? In reality, it comes down to as simple as, identifying a problem and writing code for it, which can be published, right? While it is that simple, in terms of releasing it, the real game is when you're looking at scaling it, right? How do you really build for something that's sustainable and scalable? Because anyone can find a problem and write code for it. That's step one. Step two of SaaS is really, are you writing code for a problem that's worth solving, that people are ready to pay for, that is scalable, right? Because you're literally building for the global world from wherever you are. It could be from Indore, it could be from Raipur, it could be from Gurgaon. I think that's where uh, you would realize as you go through the SaaStart program that there are a couple of things that make the fundamentals of a good SaaS startup, right? Uh, the base is definitely, are you going from a perspective of problem solving, right? Are you able to identify problems that exist, and are you able to then identify ways in which you can solve for it? If there is already a solution available in the market, it's about, can you solve for it better, right? Because I've always insisted on all of you knowing the three E's of building for problems. I may have mentioned this before to this group, but when you're building SaaS, you need to see what is the problem that you're solving for, right? And are you sure about how big the problem it is for your customer, right? Does he realize how big the problem it is for him, right? Because it is not just the value you think you bring to the customer, it is the value that he perceives that you deliver to him. So start with, what is the problem, who is facing the problem, and how big is the problem for him, right? And then comes the entire solutioning piece, right? I'll not go very deep into this because we're not starting SaaStart here, but I'm just giving a high level insight on how do we really, on why it's so exciting, right? Because there's so many problems around us. You could build for, the chain of supermarkets around you. It could be for, the construction companies around you. It could be for productivity tools for students around you, right? The problems are plenty, right? And that's where it comes down to, how can you really make it better, right? It could be you solving for a more accurate solution. It could be something that's more efficient, or making it more productive or faster, or just enhancing the overall experience of ticket booking, right? uh, so I think that's where it comes down to, anyone can build software, anyone can build a SaaS product. But you would realize during your SaaS start that, domain understanding is of prime importance, which is where it is not just your ability to code. Even if you don't know to code, it is totally fine. You're not expected to code during SaaS start, because there are so many no code tools that you would also be introduced to, where as long as you understand the problem and the business value, you would still be able to build your SaaS product, right? The idea is, how is your strong understanding of the domain that you're trying to solve for? If you're trying to solve for something around financial inclusivity, do you really understand the sector, the space, what goes around that ecosystem, right? Because a very popular saying goes that you can build software in 24 hours, but it's that 240 days that went behind understanding the domain that really differentiates two SaaS products. So I want you guys to keep that in mind, that while anyone can learn to code, or anyone can use a no code tool to build, it is the process that matters. The process of, how do you identify the right problem, how do you validate it, and how do you really identify whether it has scope enough to build a SaaS product around it, and how do you take it to market? that entire process matters more than the actual product itself. And that is what all of us are pretty excited about, the way SaaStart as a program is shaped up. And I would love to wish all of you the best for your 12 weeks or 16 weeks through the SaaStart program, where you understand and climb the ropes of the fundamentals of building a SaaS product. Of course, you would also come across a few jargons. Let it not overwhelm you. Keep practicing it, right? Keep practicing it, keep running it past your mentor. Something I always repeat to startups that I meet is the most important virtue of a founder or an aspiring founder is not him knowing coding, is not having an MBA. You don't have to be from a top college, you don't have to have a lot of capital or investors, but the entire characteristic of being shameless, right? And when I'm saying shameless, it doesn't mean you have to be unethical. Be within your ethical boundaries, right? But be shameless in seeking support. Be shameless in selling your vision. Be shameless in discussing your idea, right? I am not here to say nobody is going to judge you, right? I'm not a philosophical guru. I'm going to be truthful here to say everyone is here to judge everyone, right? But so what? So what? Go with your why you are here on the program. You are here to ensure you learn and you build a SaaS product that is becoming big and solving for the problem, right? Make good use of SaaStart. If I can be blunt, milk the Prestige and the Headstart team in learning as all that you want out of these 12 weeks, because they would be happiest to see you learn from them, right? All the best, all of you.
Thanks, Gautam. Probably I can poke you further to ask a few questions if you give me the kind of liberty. But one of the kind of clear points that comes to my mind to really poke your mind is now you've seen the length and breadth of it, from product to services to national to international, everything. Now, my key question around here, for the benefit of the viewers around, is that how does one even know, there is a product company or there is a solution company, and then there is a SaaS company. Now, to my understanding, few people, or rather, if not most, they do not really are keenly aware about whether that falls into the category or qualifies as being a SaaS organization or perhaps not. So maybe, you can put your thoughts around it, and maybe Tal can put his own thoughts around it as well, please.
Absolutely. So the fundamentals here is, are you building a software that can be used and installed with so much ease by anyone sitting anywhere, right? Are you able to allow someone to install over the cloud? Are you allowing someone to install your software and use them, whenever they need it, and remove it whenever they don't, right? Are you allowing them an option to pay for what they use or for the period they use, right? It could be, which is where there are so many different models that will potentially come out of it. So it comes down to how easy is it in terms of you installing it, you using it, you delivering software. So which is where my entire parallel that I drew between how 15 years ago we used to install softwares through the DVDs or the CDs, and now it is about just going onto the internet and installing, right? It's as simple as that. I go ahead and install per month. I subscribe for an annual package. I do a month-on-month package, right? As simple as your Windows Office 365. How that used to be something that you download when you buy the laptop and you install, or earlier it used to be CDs, but now you can just buy it on the go on the Microsoft website, right? And that's software as a service. What I want you to keep in mind to differentiate is, are you making life very simple for the ultimate user from where they currently are, right? How are they currently solving for the problem that they have? What are you doing by sitting remote for them to use or consume your product? And is it something that can be packaged in such a way that you can define how it shall be used and where it shall be used and why it shall be used, right? Uh, and the idea is you build once and replicate it to a lot more people, right? Without having to build for each and every person. When you build something specific for each and every person, it is a service that you're providing, right? You're trying to understand the need, and you're trying to personalize and customize for each and every person. The idea is, how can you scale? You build once, how can you scale to 100 people, to 1,000 people, a million people, without having to tamper around the features or the product, at large. So I think these are all aspects that really matter, which is where something that's very important for you as you go through the 12 weeks also, like I wanted to re-emphasize, it's not the tech, but it's your understanding of the market and the business problem you're solving. So do not hold yourself back from the market research. A lot of hours will be spent on that.
Yeah, thanks. Let's see how you want to reflect upon it, and invite your thoughts on the specifics that if I have so
Yes,
if I
Sanjeev.
have say a health tech organization providing services in the rural areas for connecting the doctors to the patients, or connecting the patients to the retailers, does it qualify as becoming a SaaS startup? Or if, I mean, obviously we have the kind of various examples, like so the Oyo or Ola and the Ubers of the world, but perhaps you can try and take some examples and throw light upon whether those organizations are classified as SaaS organizations. That could be kind of good beginning point.
So I think just to also draw one relevance over here, right? Very important aspect for the SaaS, and the reason why SaaS has actually been very successful as a model itself in this ecosystem right now is because of the way it's being charged, right? The entire core philosophy behind SaaS as a service solution is more around the usage part of it, where the more the person is using that tool, the paying for that part of it, which makes it very attractive for the end user, because they know what they're paying for. And in this time of the world, people are very cautious about, hey, where are they spending, what are they spending, and they want to know, they want to have that freedom to choice, right? Which also brings to the point where a lot of companies may have actually built a solution for a specific industry for as a one time to solve for that, right? And once you have got an understanding of a technology that you have built to solve a problem, is that problem generate enough, or is that problem common enough that if you solve for that large group of people can use that? And is that solution usability that common that people will keep paying for it as they go about doing it, right? So for example, we look at Amazon, right? Audible is again a great platform, or even the Amazon subscriptions, right? Yes, you can go ahead and buy a book or an Audible book and pay one time fee, pay a one time fee for it, which is similar like an e-commerce. But they got into the mode of saying, hey, you have a monthly subscription and you get one free credit that you can buy a book for. Now, what that is doing is that's basically hooking the user on the platform. It is also motivating them to say, hey, let me now read one book. And that as a behavior, they may have told a customer, let's say 2 or 3 books, but with that SaaS perspective to their model, now they have a much larger, much bigger lifetime value with the user, because they've already spent the majority of their investment in building the tech or building the solution up there, right? So any business model, a majority of the business model, if as a tech-enabled solution, if there is an opportunity where that solution is something that people will use again and again, and that stickiness is there, that features commonality is there, that multiple set of users will use it, there is a much higher chance of a SaaS model being successful over there. To another example, let's say buying a healthcare device. So in general terms, right, whenever we are trying to, let's say, we launch an innovative product, but the cost of the product is very high for people to experiment or buy that and start using it. right? A SaaS model becomes very effective where you can say that, hey, we will, the device is free for you, or device is at a discounted rate for you, and you only pay for a usage. So, for example, a rural doctor, right, who currently has to, let's say, purchase anything, devices for increasing his scope of measurement or work, now is able to say, you know what, I can charge my patients 10 rupees extra for an additional test, and I can get this device. And that helps two sides. It helps the doctor get in that technology and apply it. It becomes much cheaper for the user because there's not like large investment. And for this startup also, they get that volume. They're able to bring their solution into into a larger audience or a larger pool, which also gives them a strong validation, right? So I think this entire program also is again going to help you think from a problem perspective and think around exploring different models and seeing that, hey, whatever you are doing or whatever you have in mind, can, is SaaS relevant for that? It may or may not be, but can it make it? Because if it is, it makes the barrier to entry for your product into market much lower and the adoption much better.
Thanks, Taha. That's kind of good reflection coming out. Probably the viewers would have had a kind of good idea about whether that qualifies or their startup qualifies as a SaaS organizations or perhaps not. But even if there is kind of an iota of misinformation or conception difference, then possibly the next few sessions will definitely help them to understand, and the valuable knowledge nuggets that those will be brought in into this SaaS startup sessions, the forthcoming sessions, will be very valuable in terms of developing a solid understanding about not just how is it different from a product or a solution organization, what are the measurement parameters, how are they different, what should be the kind of consideration, how to control the kind of costs, and how to be conscious about whether those costs are going to be exponentially growing or perhaps not, and what are the kind of success parameters when you define for yourself whether that organization is on the right track or perhaps getting a bit more stagnant. With that, can I invite Gautam to reflect upon the structure of the program and try and tell us about what are the kind of various thoughts being built up from SaaS, from Headstart, as well as Microsoft.
Absolutely. And I think, just to add to what Taha said as well, to connect to it ultimately comes down to the delivery of the product, right? For the customers, we don't really require them to buy and procure and own and manage hardware and software. As long as they have access to internet, they have access to your application. That's how simple SaaS is making or solving problems. So, but in reality, there's a lot more to it than just that. And that is what's going to be, our focus area in the next, 8 to 12 weeks of the entire program. It's all about, it's all about how do we create, how do we allow you to really understand in a very structured way, right? In terms of how do you create and scale applications in the SaaS world for your potential customers, right? How do you validate them? How do you deploy them? So it all comes down to the starting point. Where do you start, and then how do you start, right? And then moving to how do you build it, right? How do you build it in the easiest form, which is going to help you validate and potentially scale at a later point. And also, how do you work with your customers, right? There's an entire piece of understanding the customer's problem, understanding sales for SaaS. So it's about, which is where the entire program is going to be built on the 3-part principle of desirability, feasibility, and viability, allowing you to first understand is it worth a problem that is worth solving for, right? And then how big a problem is it are you solving for, and who are your potential customers, and then understanding what does it take for me to build for it, right? How easy or difficult? Is it something that requires a large team? Is it something that can be done with no code tools? How easy or difficult is it to build the first version of what I would like to build, right? Because the ultimate or the ideal version is always, a year away or 2 years away, right? And that is not what we do. We all will follow the lean principle of quickly iterating, shipping, the version that we believe is the fastest to be shipped, that can be validated with the customer, right? We will be very close to the customer and, keep taking feedback from them. So that is something that we strongly believe in terms of, this will be this entire program will be completely based on top of the lean principle, for you to have a structure. And most importantly, it's also about, some fundamentals on how do you position yourself in the market, right? How do you sell SaaS, right? How do you market SaaS, right? But most importantly, how do you identify your first 10 customers, right, and get them to use it? And how do you bring back into the feedback loop of, getting their feedback and pushing it back into your product, right? So these are fundamentals, and what you really take home from the program is frameworks at every stage, which we would love to have you implement and keep implementing. If you thought it was a class like what you would have in a college, where it's only, where you don't really implement, I'm sorry, you are going to, not really utilize this to the fullest, because the way your workshops will be happening is, there will be learning that gets exchanged. You have to go implement in those activities and come back with, you having implemented and what your learnings are. If you are only looking at taking notes and seeing, telling yourself you'll learn later, trust me, you're going to be 3 to 4 weeks behind everyone else, and that's not what you want out of it. So that's something that you should expect. Be very aggressive, and if you're given activities during the programs, complete it then and there. I mean, all that I can say is, if you stay on top of your workshops and sessions during these 8 to 12 weeks, you will obviously be at a much better and higher place than where you are at the moment, right?
Absolutely.
And as long as you move the needle during 8 to 12 weeks here, I think that's something that you all should be very proud of.
Thanks, Gautam. Mukesh, can I invite your thoughts on what is Lean Stack and how is it going to be used in the program, and how is it going to be so very beneficial going ahead? Because that's kind of an integral part of the whole program. So let's have kind of a few thoughts built around that as well, please.
Yeah, sure, Sanjeev. Thank you for putting me over there. So most of the content and structure what we have created is considering like how your journey will be from that ideation stage to the execution stage, like what sort of models you'll be having at the end of the program. For example, if I to build my startup today, what all sort of things I need to take care, like what is the problem statement, what are the solutions, challenges around it in the market as well, right? So this Lean Stack particular is an online platform where we'll be doing all sort of activities and all sort of workshops will be happening around it. So like building a particular vision, how many challenges or what all activities you all need to do will all be happening around that particular platform only. And we already have given the access to all the participants who have registered around the program. I have also shared the link over here, so people can register around it. They can also check out and monitor the progress which they'll be doing throughout the program. So let's say if they are working on their customer segment, if they are working on their business segment, if they are trying to build up a solutions, like Gautam also said, right? What solutions is over there? Is it even needed or not? So based on these input, which they'll be putting in the first phase of their presentation or that particular slide and everything, we will be monitoring them. And also by end of the time, like let's say after 4 to 6 weeks, they'll be able to understand how much progress they have made around it, right? And this will help them to build that particular idea as a good product, as a idea where then in the next phase, either be it into the incubation segment or be it to go for completely turning that idea into a company or as a business model as well. So that's where Lean Stack will help them to make their idea or to validate that idea exactly, if I to say so. and also to judge if how much progress they have made around it, right? What all is needed over there. So we also have planned few mentoring sessions for them. Like for example, we'll be having mentoring session around GTM. We'll be having mentoring session around validation of their business model with the founders and people having those expertise as well. We also will be having few of the session on storytelling and on the pitching, refining of their pitches, refining of their business models around it. So all these activities we will be conducting through Lean Tech only. One more thing which we'll be doing is like uh, to understand and to tear down from idea to product. Like if that particular SaaS, because again SaaS is of many types, right? It can be of consumer SaaS, it can be of enterprise SaaS. It again can have an abstract SaaS, industry specific SaaS, etc. So we'll do like workshops around it, having like for example half day to full day, and then these all measures like because understanding that progress is also very important over there. So this Lean Stack platform will help every individual who will be registered for this pre-incubation program in that stage. And after 4 or 6 weeks, maybe these guys then can understand how they have done it out. So that's more about it. But if Taha or Gautam would like to add some more point around it, will be great.
Probably I can ask at this point, who all are going to be the kind of instructors or the people who will do the induction and the orientation and take people or hand over people in terms of mentoring and delivering the sessions.
Got that. So we have invited most of the people who had worked on the SaaS level programs. For example, Hamad will be there. Hamad is having more than around 8 to 10 years of experience of building SaaS business model around it. So Hamad will be taking some of the physical session around it. Ujjwal will also be coming up. So Ujjwal is the director for Moving Sync, one of the company which is working majorly on the product segment. Similarly, we'll also be inviting people like Yaswan and Varun. For example, Varun Kumar is again the vice president for a company which works again totally on building SaaS-based networking platforms. Similarly, we'll be bringing Vinayak from the Microsoft for Startup, who is CTO. CTO for Microsoft for Startup, and he will also be sharing more about sales and marketing around it, B2B to B2C and GTM. Similarly, when it comes to like how you should pitch your story, how you should build your story around market, because many of the time it happens that people have very good understanding about their company segment, about their ideas, but when it comes to present in front of business, in front of investors, or to sell that out, it's again a big challenge for tech founders, right? And this again have like SaaS is again purely on that segment. So we'll be bringing Chetan, who is again heading Honest Create, as well as Millie, who is the chief marketing officer for HISA company, HISA. So we'll bring in her as well. So similarly, when I talk on the investment side for any of the SaaS business model, which is again very important, not just only for SaaS but also for the startups community. So we'll be bringing Tushar, who is heading Headstart Investor Circle, and he'll be talking more about how fund can raise and how they can work out, to make. This will again be a workshop model, and most of the sessions which I have talked will have all kind of like combination of all like session, workshop, and as well as like go to home kind of activities. Then we'll have few sessions on IP as well, because when I talk on the SaaS, like it's again a software fine. And in India, we do have some challenges around it, because when I talk on the IP side, it's very difficult to get IP on the software. But then there are other ways to get it out. Like for example, UK, US, and Australia, that kind of market is open for it. So we'll be having one session on IP for it and how it can play a role in startup, challenges of IP for softwares in India, and opportunities in UK. For that, we'll be bringing Hertz, who is heading IP5 in Bangalore, as well as Kevin from UK. And then we'll also have one person who will be taking care for the compliance segment, because how you should go with, because I'm assuming that few of the people who will be at ideation stage may not have their company as of now. So how this company can form out. So we'll be having one legal person who is heading this company, which is building SaaS-based model for understanding legal compliances and all. So Chirayus, again, he is one of the person from Indore. He'll be taking physical session. So these kind of persons we have, formed around it. So all these people will be taking care of like mix of topics, mix of sessions, not just only session. And this will not be Gyan kind of session for sure. That what I can commit. It will be pure work, what I call it, in-hand training kind of thing. And that's why we have taken Lean Stack as a tool over here, so that we can totally monitor how things are going up and what challenges people are facing over there. So that's how we have planned this SaaStart program as of now.
Great. I'm sure within the kind of long list, Gautam is going to find a bit of a struggle to find his own place. But never mind, Gautam. We will be very happy to have you with either with me or one of the other speaker. But you definitely have to come to Indore at least once and be a part of, if not the speaker list, then be representing AIC as well.
Absolutely. After hearing Mukesh's list, one thing that I really enjoyed was a lot of these names are people who really built SaaS.
Absolutely.
And nothing like, being with or spending time next 6 weeks to 8 weeks with people who really built it. Like I told you earlier, it is your responsibility as participants to be shameless in asking questions and seeking help, right? Because the facilitators or the mentors are here to support, and they can support only to the extent of to the extent of which you can ask them and you can get out of them, right, what you really want. And I will personally, for sure, Sanjeev, ensure that towards the end of the cohort, come there and spend time with all those who are putting,
really wonderful.
Putting some good amount of effort into this program. I would love to sit with them and see how can we guide them on the next
maybe we can't give you the liberty of coming towards the end, but definitely somewhere in between, and try and make sure that your valuable knowledge and experience is completely leveraged in the benefit of the startups, and do give them a kind of solid guidance. A few words about tomorrow's and day after session. Mukesh, do you want to go about?
So tomorrow's why don't you share the poster with everyone as well, because I think it'll be important for them also to know what program or also what session are they starting with.
Yeah.
Ken, from anyone from my team can share that out. Bagdasi,
no mind, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead with the session.
Yeah, I'll ask Gaurav. Go ahead.
Just give me a second.
Sure. So I think I'm having fear of missing out here, or FOMO, of not being part of tomorrow's and day after session, because I think the person all of you are going to meet is someone I personally have spent a lot of time and have loved listening to. And my suggestion is don't let him near a whiteboard, because he can literally build something for you, or or show you the way out, right? So I think make the best use of his time, given he's in Indore, because he's someone who's literally helped build so many products in his last decade of journey, and also is currently running his own venture, which is SaaS, which has customers not just in India but has customers outside India as well, right? Absolutely. And I think someone did ask something around sales for SaaS startups, right? I think this is something you should have a conversation on it tomorrow, on what are some of the ways in which you cracked it, right? Ask him, how did you build a team? How did you incentivize the team? How did you build an SOP for the team? How did you, how did you enable the team? Where do they start looking out for leads? Where do they start looking out, or how do they, move the leads to a prospect? And how do they close the deal, right? Or how do they identify channel partners? There's so many things involved in the sales for SaaS startups. While of course, I'm sure he's going to spend more time on at a broader level, getting you all to warm up to the SaaS world. There is nothing and no harm in you going a bit deeper into these specific things. I'm sure he's going to be very happy to share it.
Great. Wonderful. If there are any questions people want to ask, I'd like to invite now and try and see if those can be addressed by the 3 champions that we have around. And also tomorrow's and day after sessions are the kind of first 2 sessions. And after that, Hamad will be around for a while, but the best is to try and make sure that you get the best elements out of him. A few organizations have registered. I'll encourage other ones who are there on the panel on the list to try and register and be sure that they are around for the next 2 sessions as well. But as of now, if there are questions, probably I can handle. And after that, probably I can ask Taha for the closing remarks.
So we do have one question from like how to scale our sales team for SaaS product. Gautam, would you like to take that?
So I just almost took it. I gave a couple of minutes on sales for startups, and which is where, it is not, you can give frameworks like what I shared. In my view, I would want you to learn from the experience of, say Hamad tomorrow. Ask him a bit deeper on how he built, the sales channels and the sales teams, at Pazo, his SaaS startup that he's built, and and in the program itself, there is going to be one day very focused on just enabling you, giving you frameworks on, how do you identify your customer and how do you position value to him. If possible, I would love to come and take that session. Sales is something I would love to always talk around. So maybe that's a session that I will probably help you guys with a few weeks down the line.
Yeah, so we have Ratan from NCAMP who wants to ask you a question. Can somebody unmute him? Yeah, go on, Ratan.
Yeah, Dr. Sanjeev, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Sanjeev, my question
Loud
is,
and clear.
we are a travel tech startup. You can hear us, right?
Yes, Ratan, loud and clear.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gautam. Dr. Sanjeev, we are a travel tech startup based out of Northeast. Here in this part of the country, we have a huge dearth of technical resource. We are finding it like very, very difficult to identify the right resource who could get us to at least to the MVP stage. So while we have the logics and all of that ready, the development part is getting stuck. Okay, now there's a problem. Now for the same, one solution could be that we outsource at least till the MVP level work to someone in maybe Bangalore and get that done and move forward. But would you suggest to do that, considering we are working on building a SaaS product, and we get the MVP done from someone, tomorrow they are not available again because the product needs to go under certain revisions, right? There's so many things. So what would you advise, and how do we how can maybe does this program also have any connection or anything it could help us with? I speak.
Let me stop you there for a moment, Ratan, and pitch in that. First of all, my opening remark around here is that trust me, your problem is not unique to Northeast. The dearth of technology developers is around, not just around India, but around the world. So you're not islanded on Northeast. So stop to think about that first of all. Second, my suggestion, Gautam would not want to agree, or may not really want to agree, is that don't go to Bangalore, because Bangalore costs astronomically high. If you wish at all, I can, on a personal level, I can really help you outsource the development part to somebody who's going to be economical and more reliable, probably at Indore. Now, I'm not guaranteeing anything, but that's what I can do for you. But trust me, this is a problem everyone has to live with. Gautam, do you want to add anything or delete?
No, absolutely, Sanjeev. So Ratan, number one, of course, as a part of the program, one part or one session is also around, the hiring part of it, right? Very basics to how do you build a team. It is not exactly hiring, but there is going to be some. In fact, tomorrow, day after, Hamad will also touch on that. But you will have that also being touched at a different stage on how do you build your A team, right? Your first set of team members. So it is not an answer that will fit everyone, right? It always comes down to, end of the day, are you a business first tech-enabled company? Are you a tech first business company, right? Which is where, in my view, it's always about, keep moving fast in your initial days till you have your first set of customers, and which is your MVP is out, and you have your first set of customers to test it out and give you feedback. you should not waste time in, on the technology front, right? Because what you have at that point is some great amount of domain knowledge that you're packaging into the software or the application that people are ready to use in one place. So you need to focus on your core strength at that point, which is the domain knowledge, which means do not waste time in hiring or spending too much time or money on development of the technology at that point, right? Focus, if at all you have to spend on your domain, because that is your real USP and strength. Because at an MVP level, all that you want is to, get feedback, right? And that can be done even through, using no code tools, right? Or low code tools. And it can be done with the help of people who already have built something that you can use, so that you are able to roll out your first version on top of something. The first version need not be your best version, but as long as you are able to validate that there is someone who is ready to use it and finds value, I think it gives you some confidence to say, okay, now let me keep aside some money to either hire a team in-house or outsource it, right? But in the initial days, don't spend too much money and time on, technology, because it will slow you down, in terms of testing it out with your customers, right? If you felt that you needed the best version before you test it out with your customers, those are not your beta, customers, right? You've probably identified the beta customers wrong. The beta customers are those who you can roll out your MVP without, the worry of being judged, and they give you the feedback, right? You need to start that way. Of course, through the program, you will also have the basics of, how do you hire and how do you identify your team and when do you do that. But broadly, in my view, focus on the business side of things, build from wherever you are, right? The best thing about SaaS is, you can build locally and sell globally. And honestly, last few weeks I've been, traveling to 8 to 10, tier 2, tier 3 states. In fact, with the names that I see on this participants list, I see quite a few familiar names from, from Bhubaneswar, from Sikkim, from Assam, from, Himachal as well. One thing I would love to tell you is, you know uh, people who are in your states would be the best people you should build with, right? Because you end up slowly at some point when you go beyond an MVP, you can build with and around you, and that makes a huge difference. You don't need to build a product team, a tech team in Bangalore, Delhi. You may at some point post your MVP, when you roll out your final product, you may have to build a sales team in Bangalore, Delhi, but not your product and tech team, right? You can build it from Indore, you can build it from wherever you are. I would rather say you should build it from a tier 2, tier 3 city, because cost is lower and the stickiness is higher, right? Because uh, even if you pay 3 lakhs, 5 lakhs more, it doesn't come like working out of your hometown. So that is rest of it. Of course, we'll see it over the next 6 weeks of the program.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much, Gautam. I mean, your advice always leads us to one thing or the other. Today it's no code. And thank you, Dr. Sanjeev. I'll definitely connect, touch base with you as well and figure out what can be done best. Thank you.
Whenever you wish, whenever you wish. Great. Mukesh, Taha, anything special that you want to point out as of now? Or do we sum up?
I think we can sum it up. I know we have a lot to come. We have 6 weeks of really solid content, great founders, great experts, people who have done things, sharing the experiences, practical experiences with the entire batch. I think this is just the warm up that we had, and really love the entire engagement and the questions that we have in discussion today, right? And I think we are going to be looking at a lot of very meaningful, solid content coming up over the 6 weeks that will really help ensure that all the founders, the members in this group, and the more that will join in, their fundamentals are very strong, right? So from no code to building your MVP, the lean model, all of these, it's again, thought process, identifying what problem are we solving, how are we starting, getting those things right. The product and getting into market is a journey beyond this. But if that is right, things ahead gets a lot more smoother. So I am excited personally. I look forward to all the sessions. I think it's going to be a great learning for me, and I'm sure it's going to be amazing learning for all the team members over here. And it's going to be, a hybrid with few sessions happening in Indore itself. It'll be amazing to meet some of the local founders and then also, connect with fellow founders from across the country as well.
No, thanks. So I really so excited to really try and see how we work towards a kind of an objective. Mukesh, over to back to you for the closure.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjeev, so much, and as well as to all the speakers like Gautam, Taha, and also like to all the audience who have joined us. Really good to see that so many people are so keen to build their innovative ideas as a startup, which always is needed, if I do say so. And we have seen that 2021 was the time period for the startup, right? We have seen more than 40 plus unicorns which has came up over there, and major of them were again like somewhat related to software as well. So like congratulations to everyone for joining us for this program, and let's get it to like go into this roller coaster of the world, like where we'll be building something, some innovative technologies, some innovative solutions for the society as well. And with this, I'll just conclude, and with this, I'll say tomorrow we'll meet Hamad, and for next 6 weeks we'll be together. And let's go ahead with that.
A quick question. So
Great. Also, if somebody has not registered yet, the link is given on the chat.
But I have a question for Mukesh. How do we register for tomorrow's session and meet Hamad?
So with this SaaStart program, Gautam will be sending calendar invites to all. Plus, who are in the Indore and want to register like for the physical event, they can directly come to AIC Prestige Center as well. We'll be having session from 5 p.m. onward, and it will be around 2 p.m. 2 hour of the session with Hamad, which is a physical event actually. But people who are like who cannot join the session over there, they'll be attending it through virtually again, like with the Zoom link. That will be posting on link.
So we'll have to basically register on the link that is shared on the chat now. Okay.
Yeah. So that link will work out, register for it, and we'll be sending calendar invites to all the people.
Great. Thanks very much, everyone. I'd look forward to meet you tomorrow sometime. Thank you all.